Don't feel bad. Anybody wants to.
Okay. This one is out.
Rabbi?
What? Test? Do you want to say something? You hear me? It's all good? We're good? Okay. Okay. Remember where I wanted to go over here. Okay. So it's a flagon. Oh, we're filling up little by little. So start slow. That's the one thing I'm trying to figure out. All right, we'll figure it out as we do this. A gute Woche. So, when you're feeling drained and you're feeling tired, it means you had a good Shabbos. It means you didn't get to sleep and you ate a lot and you
Us or you?
we're all the same, no? You took a nap today?
No.
Very good. That's what I mean. Nobody took naps. I just want to start off saying like this, that we hear, ironically, this is like the Kiruv weekend, but the whole week, because we have the Kiruv weekend on Shabbos, we really don't get to see one of the most important parts of the Kiruv world today, which is Torah Anytime, which is not possible to do on Shabbos. So Motzei Shabbos, we get to have a little taste of Torah Anytime at the Project Inspire conference. It's revolutionized Kiruv. In the old days of Kiruv, you fought to talk to 5 people. And now everything you say, anybody could hear. It's a big achrayus and it's a big bracha. All right, so let's talk. This is a sheer, the people who come Motzei Shabbos after Shabbos, instead of like just chilling, these are the hardcore people. So we have to talk about something the serious crowd.
Is this about Kiruv, this lecture?
Oh.
It's about Jewish related. It's Jewish related. It's a broad. Here's the story. This isn't irregular. This is what it nitpicks some sugyas that don't normally get talked about, and we'll talk about them in a deeper way. Let's see what we could come up with. It's the first time I'm doing this year, and I was really supposed to figure out exactly how I was going to do it this afternoon, but instead I had like 500 fascinating conversations. We're going to do it together. It's I know what I want to say, but we'll see where it takes you. We're on a journey together. It's a perfect Motzei Shabbos trip. Here's the story. Yaakov Avinu, he's trying to figure out with Lavan, how he's going to get paid, what he wants from Lavan before he embarks on his life, what he's taking with him from all of the sheep. Lavan swindled him for years. And Yaakov says, he makes the interesting request, and it's spelled out repeatedly in the Torah, and the Torah spends an inordinate amount of time describing the selection of how Yaakov wants to get paid. And he asks for the sheep. This is what he says. Everyone, if you're here, you probably know what I'm talking about. He says he wants the sheep that are Akudim, Nekudim, Uvrudim. I want all the sheep that are Akudim, like stripes, because they're like tied, striped, speckled, and spotted. And so we got to talk about what does striped, speckled, and spotted mean. But the story is deeper than that. He says he wants all the sheep all the white sheep. You could have Lavan. I don't want the white sheep. I only want the spotted, speckled, and striped sheep. And then what Yaakov does is, after Lavan agrees, what a wonderful deal, Yaakov goes and he takes a stick and he carves into the stick, vayefatzel behem betzolos, he peels off the bark, and he takes those sticks that he's peeled off the bark. So I picture it like a peppermint stick, and now it's like stripes peeled into the bark, and he puts those sticks where the sheep are mating, and the sheep that gaze at these sticks while they're mating, they all have children that are Akudim, the Akudim of Rudim, that are spotted, speckled, and spotted and striped, and those are the sheep that Yaakov takes for himself, and increasingly Lavan has less and less white sheep. So what's the story? So I don't make any claims to say the final word in the story. This story like this has infinite amount in Kabbalah. The sugya of Akudim, the Akudim Brudim is a huge part of the Kabbalah. It's the worlds of Akudim, the Akudim Brudim. It's different types of pirud, and for our purposes, I want to focus it more on a practical, to learn Torah al derech hapshat. Sometimes Torah, the pshat of Torah is the deepest of anything. There are those who would argue, I tend to argue, that we have a phrase in Judaism, soif ma'asav machshava tchila, that the end of any journey is really the first step of the journey. Meaning, in Kabbalah we talk about that malchus is the same as keser, for those who like that kind of language. But what it means is that in any process there are many stages. There's the guy wants a house. He dreams of a house. He has a picture of the house that he wants to live in. And then, in order to have that house, you have to hire contractors and engineers and people who are, today you need, zoning and permit, what do they call them? Not accelerators. People, there's a word for expediters, right? People who can expedite, they have all these roles along the way, which don't look like a house, right? But you need a plumbing, electrician, and you need builders. Many stages along the way. The final stage is when everything gets done, you have the house. That's the original thought. The original thought, the final thought are the same. In a similar way, the deepest levels of Torah, the deepest Kabbalah, we find that usually it mirrors exactly the simplest, purest thought. You know that you're getting close to the truth when things start to get simple again. When things are complicated, you're stuck somewhere in the middle. You need an expediter. You're busy with permits and builders and engineers. Walking into the house that you dreamt of and sitting on the couch is a dream you had. That's the final product. That's as simple as the dream. So this is a taste of that. I want to show you what I think is the simplest reading of the story, mamish poshet pshat, and it will really mirror in many ways what the deepest Kabbalists are saying about the story, and you'll understand what I mean when I say it. I'm going to tell you a pshat, but you're going to feel that hopefully you're going to feel that it's very deep. Yaakov tells Lavan, I don't want the white sheep. I want the real sheep. I'm going to start off with a story. I work, I work with people off the derech. That's what I work with. So everybody gets good at their field, So a guy who works in stocks, he can smell when something's about to break. And the guy in real estate, he knows his good products. Unfortunately, what you get good at in Kiruv is you get good at smelling Averis. It's not a very useful, every day everyone's telling you what their obstacles are, so that becomes, I don't know how it's like the most useless skill set in the world to develop, But on the other hand, you do get used to seeing when people are poised for growth, or when you know the look in someone's eyes when they're starting to change, when something's happening, and over the course of time, those are the benefits that I've learned. I can see when someone's having a breakthrough, when the eyes. That's really why I do it. My thrill, that moment when you see someone's eyes light up, that they just got it, that maybe this is real, that maybe the thing they have is really beautiful. It's like that moment, like my whole life till now was fraud and this is the truth. Why didn't they show me this? It's the greatest. To me, that's like childbirth without the pain. It's like, that's the best world ever. Childbirth with no pain, an epidural, living life like that. So I had a guy in Lakewood. He wasn't from the best people. He had a reputation. There are people who get stuck in things, and then the other people gravitate to them, and this house becomes the house that you can go to watch this, to go there, to do this. He was a sweet guy, but a lot of sweet people get schlepped into things. And one day I'm sitting in shul, I'm looking in front of me in shul, and I think it's that guy. That didn't make sense. That guy is not going to be in shul at this time. And the thing that bothered me the most was the fact that he was sitting in the middle of shul. And it was like I don't even know how to, I've said this already a few times, I don't know how to explain it, but it didn't make sense. The guy I knew could not sit in middle of shul. What do I mean? What is the middle of shul? You come to shul, you can sit, in order to sit in middle of shul, you have to mamish want to be there. You feel comfortable. You can sit in the back row of shul, or you can sit in the front. There's two places. You can hide in shul in the back row or the front row. The back row, you're hiding and not being part. In the front row, you're hiding it. You're the man. You're like running the show. It's a little gaiva. But to be the humble guy in the middle of shul, you have to be real. There's a certain element of realness, of humility, when you sit, and even better if you're not sitting in the aisle seat. Right? The guy who's taking the seat in the middle of the table, it's not an aisle on this side, there's a certain level of kedusha and humility and comfort with your existence that you don't need to be near an exit, you don't need an exit row seat, you don't need, you're just there. And it didn't fit in my head that this guy was there, not him, it can't be him. But the more I looked at him, and I couldn't even daven, it was too surprising for me. You're used to picturing the people in your life in the place where they occupy, and it was too much of a shock. And the whole time I'm trying to look this way, is it really him? Someone looks like him. At the end of davening, the guy turns around, and it's him. But his face is like glowing. You look at the guy, and he just looked happy. He looked in that place that I felt that the middle of shul meant. I figured I'll say something to the guy. I said to him, listen, I don't want to bud my nose in your business, but I don't know what you did, but you must have done something huge. And in case you wanted some feedback, you did something huge. You're like glowing. You look unbelievable. So his whole face, he smiles. He got even brighter, and he says, you noticed? I said, yeah. He goes, how did you know? I said, I knew even before I saw you. You know how I knew? Because you were sitting in the middle of shul. And he listens to me, and he thought, for a second, what does that mean? And then he goes, wow, you're right. He chaffed the whole thing in 2 seconds, because he had never sat in the middle of shul before. There are people who have never sat in the middle of shul, ever sat in the middle. And he says, wow, right. So he, whatever, I gave him I just gave him a pat on the back. He happened to call me a few days later, and he said to me, I see you chap these things. I don't know who I talked to about this. He says, listen, me and my wife, we worked on a lot of stuff, and we're it's like mamish in a happy place. We're really good, and I'm a little torn right now. I don't know what to do. Maybe you give me an eitzah. If you understand these things, tell me what you think. So what's the shaila? He goes, I've been working my ruchnius. I'm going to shul, and like you said, I could sit in the middle of shul. I'm not trying to be something. I'm just real. And he said, but now I have this yetzer hara that I want to start going to the gym. I need to go to the gym. He says, I feel like I took care of my ruchnius, and now I put on a little pot. I feel like now I want to be nispashat. I want to go the next step. I want to start taking responsibility for my health also. I let everything go. And now I want to, so I said, I feel like it's the right thing. It's like I'm taking the next step. He says, but the other voice in me is saying, no, maybe you're hiding. Maybe you're too much in the middle of shul, and you're sitting too much in the middle. Maybe I'm feeling too much like I'm part of Lakewood again, and I'm getting too comfortable and too yeshivish, and I have to start going to the gym, because now I don't want to be that guy. How do I know if it's my yetzer type or my yetzer hara, if my yetzer hara talking? Am I going to the gym because now I want to take more achrayus for my life, or am I taking this? Is it a setback in my growth? Am I running back to the edges of the kahila, in the shul of the world? So that's not what he said, but that's I'm making it poetic for a share online. Okay. First I said to the guy, it's important to say that. I said, wow. First you got to stop. You just got to lick your fingers from that kasha. That is the holiest question in the world. This is what it means to be a Oived Hashem. That is, Hashem sits in Shamayim and he waits for people to ask these questions. This is the question of the struggle of life. I have different voices. I want to be part of it, but I want to run away. Which voice is talking? That's called the middle of shul. The middle of shul is being makir. I'm not in the mizrach, I'm not in the back. I have both voices. In the middle, you're halfway to the mizrach and you're halfway to the door. You're right in the middle. Each one is just as close. So this is the holiest question. Don't get an answer so fast. You sit in the car and you wonder and you talk to Hashem. This is an oived, to agonize over what is serving Hashem, what's hiding. This is the pinnacle So I said, but Lamaisa, you need an answer. As far as that, I don't really, I said, it's a great question, and there's a real answer to the question, but the question is not going to help you. The answer to the question is, how taka do you know? How do you know if you're running away? Everything could be both. There's not a thing in the world that's not both. You can go to shul in the morning because you can't wait to talk to the Borei Olam, or you can go to shul in the morning because you don't want to have to fit those boots over your kids' shoes. It's like there's no job like putting boots over kids' shoes. It doesn't work. And mittens over fingers, and packing snacks, and signing late notes and mitzvah notes. I'm running to shul, you take care of all the easy stuff, right? So are you going to shul because you're running out of the house? Or are you going to shul because you want to talk to Hashem? Everything in life is questions. So this is the question. So how do you know the difference? So I told him the real answer is not going to help you. The real answer is go to the gym. And if you feel good afterwards, then you were growing. If you feel ashamed and you feel a little sick in your stomach and like you just ruined everything, then it was the wrong thing. We always know if what we did was running away or was living. If you were living, then you feel proud and you feel higher than you felt yesterday. And when I see you in shul, you'll be glowing more, and more people will come over to you and say, what did you do? And if it was running away, you're going to feel ashamed and no one's going to say anything to you. They're going to look at you like you're exactly what they expected you to be. I said, so you don't want to do that because that's already the setback. You need an answer to know before you do it. So I don't have an answer for that. Maybe I have a gimmicky answer. I thought I said, tell you a gimmick. But it's not. It's useful in a philosophical way. Practically, I don't think it works. I told him, you'll sit in the car. Said, you have to ask yourself, when do you start in feeling good? If you feel good when you get to the gym and you're on the machine, then that means you're taking achrayus for your life. If you feel good as soon as you put your gym bag in your car and you close the door and you leave your driveway, then you're running away from responsibility. When does the joy kick in? When does the thrill start? When you get there? If it starts by the Yitzia, then it's about the Yitzia. If it starts by the Knisa, if it starts by the exit from the house, then you're exiting the house. If the joy starts at the entering the property, then you're really living. That's what I told him. It's not a perfect answer because you could enjoy the journey somewhere holy. I could start feeling good that I'm on a journey to improve myself. But that's what I told him. The reason I'm bringing you this story is to solidify this picture of the middle of shul is the real people. B'soich ami yoinochi yoishabes, the holiest words in the Torah. The Yaakov Avinu is going to be the shepherd of Klal Yisrael. The one thing he wants to build his Klal Yisrael with are the sheep that are spotted, speckled, and striped. What does that mean? He wants the sheep that are black and white. Because every single thing in the world is black and white. There's nothing that's truly white. No one's perfect. No one's perfect Rasha. No one's a perfect tzaddik. There's no such thing. Ein odom ba'aretz asher yechta. There's never been a person who never did an avera, and there's never been a person who's kol kulei ra. Everybody is white and black. If you see someone who's totally white, you know what you're dealing with? A person in costume, a faker and a liar. What do we call that in Hebrew? A ramai. Who gets the white sheep? Who's the Ramai? Lavan. What's his name mean? White and Ramai are synonymous. If you're white, you're a Ramai. Means you're dying, you're here. You're bleaching yourself. You're bleached. There's no one white. Yaakov says, all the white sheep, all the fakers, you could have all the white sheep. There's no such thing as white sheep. There's two ways that people hide. People are fake in two ways. One way is we act all white on the mizrach, and one way is we act all black in the back row. We say, Rabbi, don't waste time with me. I'm too far gone. You know that guy? The guy who hides by being black? Some people fake white, and some people fake black. But some people think they're all tzaddikim, and some people say, no, I'm a total Rasha. Don't waste your time on me. The trick in life is the ability to admit to both of them. To admit to your black, and to admit to your white. This is the step one. And now, once we understand this is what's meant by Akudim, Yaakov is asking for all of the striped speck, every sheep that admits that it's black and it's white. What's the difference between Akudim, the Kudim, and Vrudim? So the simplest way to say it, I don't want to get too bogged down here. I like to leave a little room for creativity for everybody else. You'll take this home, you'll figure out what the three represent. What is the mixture? What are the three different mixtures of good and bad in people? What does it mean that you're striped? What does it mean that you have spots? And what does it mean that you have speckles? So I'll give you a simple way to start. You can welcome to improve on it. Striped is where we have consistent areas where we're good and consistent areas where I'm bad. I'm striped. I'm great at tefillas. I'm not good at learning. I'm great at patience. I'm very patient and still, but I'm not good at things that need you to schwitz. I have a temper, but I'm really loving. Where we have consistent things well-defined lines of kedusha and tara, that's called striped. Spotted is where we're good guys. Go across good, but we have a few glaring flaws, a few blotches in middle that mar my personality, a few big things that get in the way, and things that I've done, the things that I do. And speckled are the guys who are really, really good and have a lot of little imperfections all over, little dots here and there. They add up together to a nice little black patch, but they're all spread out over little things. Nothing huge, a bunch of little things, you know. Whatever you can imagine what it's like. I would like to leave this to you to iron this out. This is not the scope of my thing. Stage one is I wanted to illustrate the ability to face that you're black and you're white. Now, the goal of talk this year is to get to what the skill is to do. We'll see that in a second. I want to stop and do a detour to part two, to leave Akudim, the Kudim of Rudim for a second, and go somewhere else in the Torah that I think describes this unbelievably. We have a mitzvah called Vidui Meiser. You know the mitzvah Vidui Meiser? The mitzvah Vidui Meiser is every year you have to give certain tithes, certain 10% of your crop and your produce, your parnasa, you have to give to tzedakah. Not tzedakah, you have to give out. Every year you have to give the Levi 10%, and then for 2 years, in every cycle, there's a 4-year cycle. For 2 years, the first 2 years, you have to give the Levi 10%, plus you have to have what's called Meiser Sheni. Meiser Sheni is where you take off another 10%, so 20%, and that 10% is, you don't have to give it away, you have to eat it in Yerushalayim. And you keep it for yourself, you have to go to Yerushalayim and eat it. Or you can take that food and sell it and bring that money to Yerushalayim and buy things there and eat it. But that money has to be used in Yerushalayim. The third year is Meiser Ani, you have to give poor people. So there's 3 different Meisers. There's to the Levi, to yourself, for Yerushalayim, and to Aniyim. It's spread out over 3 years. When you finished the 3-year cycle, meaning you gave all 3 Meisers, you gave the money to the Levi, you took care of your Yerushalayim stuff, and you gave the Ani. So you've gone through the entire cycle. You spent all the money and the truma money, everything's supposed to play. You came to the Beis HaMikdash and you made a statement in front of Hashem, a beautiful statement called Vidui Meiser. I say to Hashem, Bi'arti HaKodesh min Abayis. I've removed all of the holy things that are not mine, that are yours. All of my obligations have been done. There's not a penny on me that's not mine. The word Bi'arti is the same word we use for removing the chametz from your house. A very strong word. I've removed the chametz. I removed all of the stuff that's not mine. I am left clean from all imperfections. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. And you say to Hashem, and now, therefore Hashem, Hashkifam b'mayin kadshecha, look down from Shemayim and bless us that we've done our part, now you do your part. And you take care of us because we did what you have to do. It's a beautiful statement. The shocking thing is that, what do we call it? Vidui Meiser. What's the meaning of the word vidui? Admission. Where's the vidui here? We know what vidui is. Ashamnu, bagadnu, this is the opposite of vidui. This is a statement of purity, a statement of tzidkis. You hear? So what's a teretz? So I'm going to tell you a quick story just to illustrate teretz. Stories, it doesn't fit so perfectly, but I think it fits. I told it over to someone else who says, doesn't fit with the story. I'm going to make it fit. I think it fits. Okay? So it's my shit, I can do it anyway. But you'll tell me if it fits. I was talking to a Talmud, we were talking and learning, and I asked him, Kash, he's a smart guy, we're talking, and we get to his house, and I say, I say, okay, you better go in, you'll tell me tomorrow. Because we were talking along the way, and we were already talking longer than we should have, and it was very late, and you should have been home earlier. So get to the house, I said, go in, you'll tell me later what you want to add to it. And he goes, no, let's talk. I can't go in now anyway, I have to wait till my wife is sleeping. I said, why? He said, whatever, I said something before I shouldn't have said. She's angry. If I walk in now, it's not going to be good. So I said, what do you mean exactly? I said, you got to he goes, whatever, you don't know what I said. He tells me what he said. He goes, yeah, that's not so good. maybe you have a problem. So I said, but he's not going to run away from it. Why don't you just say what you have to say? He goes, don't even say what I have to say. So it's very, very, very simple. You know what you have to say. He goes, what do I have to say? I go, you go inside and you say, listen, I know I said something terrible, and I can't take back what I said. I'm sorry. Hopefully I won't do something like that again, but I just want you to understand why I said it. I said it because I come home from work and I see you're doing everything you have to do, and you have a job, and you're taking care of the kids, and you make supper, and you're giving the kids baths, and you're doing everything, and I feel guilty. And because I'm not doing everything I have to do. I'm having a few too many coffee breaks during the day, and I'm not doing what I have to do with the full intensity. So when I come home, I feel guilty. It's very hard for a guy to live in his house when he feels ashamed, like he's not carrying his weight. So I had this need to find the chesaron in you so that I could walk around free. I needed to say something, I needed to find the chesaron so that I don't have to be ashamed. I don't have to feel like all guilty in my house. So I was only saying it because I recognized that you were really. I said, what you're doing is you're telling her that this is what it means. You're turning your aveira into. You're saying that what you did wrong really came from a good place. You did the wrong thing, but it came. You're really telling her I said something bad, but it really was my negative way of expressing how much I respect you and how you're doing your thing. And I said, when she hears that, you're being real, you're being honest, you're telling her the way it really is, and you'll say, he goes, that would so work. I said, so, and it's the truth, so go say it. He goes, I can never say that. So I said, why can't you say that? So we all understand, why can't he say that? Why can't he say that? Why can't he say that? Like men, why can't we say that? Would it work? Would it work in all our lives? It would work perfectly. So why won't we say it? Because once you say that, you just closed your emergency exit. You just sealed it. You admitted to something that you have to live with now, the truth that you admitted to. Once I admit to that truth, that avenue is closed to me. The reason why I think this story fits is people think that vidoy is admitting to my chesroinais. Hashem, I'm a rasha. Hashem, I did something bad. Hashem, please forgive me. That's not vidoy. It's not so hard to admit to your averis. You know, children are scared of the dark. What nobody tells us is that adults are much more scared of the light than the kids are of the dark. Adults like the dark. The dark is an excuse to not perform so well. The dark is an alibi. The dark is a built-in defense why I'm not performing well. The light scares us because the light we have to perform. In the light, there's expectations. I'm not so scared of my flaws. My flaws relieve me of pressure. I'm scared of my abilities. My abilities scare me much more than my flaws. To admit to your truths is much harder to admit to your lies. To say vidoy, Hashem, I did something wrong, it's a little shameful. You know what real vidoy is? To say Hashem, you know how pure I am? Biyarti hakodesh min habayis. I'm a tzaddik. I'm clean. You know what happens when you admit how good you are? Your whole life becomes a life of obligation now. You just stepped into the big boy world. You said, Hineni, here I am. I can't crawl out to the back and say and not be the guy who's picked anymore. I just picked myself. That's the real vidoy. Real vidoy is not to be moida to your black. It's to be moida to your white. It's easy to be moida to the black. It gives me excuses why I'm ADD. That's why I can't do anything. Right? I'm ADD. Right? I'm this. I'm that. We all know all of our titles that absolve me from whatever it is to do. Right? I'm not knocking people who are really ADD. It wasn't invented yet when I was a kid, so I escaped that title. But I definitely would have. I was like a poster boy. Okay, but. You hear that this is the real vidoy? It's such a powerful idea. This is the real vidoy. Oshamnu baganu, I admit I did terrible things. No, vidoy meiser, Hashem, I'm moided that I'm a tzaddik, I'm moided that I have koiches. And this is what we mean when we say chazak ve'ematz. What is the meaning of chazak ve'ematz? Be strong and be courageous. What's the difference between chazak ve'ematz, being strong and courageous? Strong is what you need in the dark. Strong is what you need to face your flaws. A strong man can face the dark. A strong man can face his flaws. Courage is what you need to face the light. Oimetz, chazak ve'ematz, don't be strong and courageous. Face the dark, but face the light. Courage is far more powerful and far more risky than you need courage to face the light. So we need to admit that we're black and we're white. We have to admit our chesroinus. I gave the speech, that this little part of it I gave on Yom Kippur. I told everybody, when you sit and do Hashamnus, do all the regular Hashamnus, but make sure to add in one little admission of a mila of yours. And tell me which one's harder. To admit what you're good at, because then you create the expectation. So that said, so now we need to get to the big question. We are all, everyone here is Akudim, the Akudim Uvruim. Every one of us fits into one of these splatter patterns. We're moida that we're tzaddikim, and we're moida that we're rishoyim. We're not gray, we're both. I have unbelievable things about me, and I have flaws about me. I'm black and I'm white. I'm like every other Jew. I'm a real sheep. The white sheep don't exist. The white sheep are all with the ram I love, and there's no black sheep, there's no white sheep. There's only spotted, speckled, and colored sheep. So the question is how do you get people to be moida to this? Do you know how many people are moida to this? Not many. You go to most shuls, the window seats, the aisle seats, it's like in airplanes, you know? Nobody's taking the middle seats until all the seats are taken, right? And usually in the shul though, when all the seats are taken, there's no stewardess telling you to sit, so no one takes the middle seats, everyone stands in the back, or in the coat room, or in the kitchen, right? Or outside. So the point of this year is all of this was the lead up to the question, so how do we get our sheep to be moida that they are black and white? How do you get to sheep moida? How do you get a sheep? Because the fakers, there's no use to them. People who are living their lives not real, there's nothing you can do with a person that's not real. They're just, hopefully, they'll survive long enough till Hashem's ready to make them real. And then we can talk to them. And hopefully they're not too old. Too often, they're 80 years old when they finally get real. And they've been through so much tzar, now they realize, and what do you do now? It's too late. So Yaakov Avinu is establishing for Klal Yisrael, before he starts, not when he's done, before he starts. He has his kids, they're young, the chinuch's going to happen. He didn't even go yet and leave Lavan's house. He's about to leave on his journey. The first thing he has to establish is, how do we weed out the white from the colors? So here's what Yaakov does. He takes a stick and he peels off the bark and he puts it on the ground, and when the sheep look at it, all the sheep turn out spotted, speckled, and dark. What's the story? So I'll tell you what the story is. What is he doing? You take a stick, and you peel off the bark, and you create this peppermint stick. Black and white, black and white, black and white. Right? Because you peeled off the bark, and inside it's white. And you put it down. You put it in the ground, and the sheep come. So the question of life is when you see something that's black and white, is it black with white stripes, or is it white with black stripes? What's a zebra? Is a zebra black with white stripes or white with black stripes? What's the answer?
White with black stripes.
Okay, so we're 50-50 over here. So you know, so this is the question. This is the question the world needs to ask. Because the reason why people cannot admit that they're black and white is one answer. You know what the answer is? Because we're afraid that we're really black with white stripes. I'm really, really black, and my white is the fake. My white's not the real me. I went to Shachris because I didn't want to be thrown out of yeshiva. I learned because I wanted a little covered. Really, I'm through and through really not kaddish. And all my mitzvahs, I was white on top of black. No, most people are not thinking that they're black on top of, that they're white, the white is real and the black's unreal. That's the question. If you want sheep to be moided that they're black, that they're white, and the black is the aberration, when someone knows that, then they'll be real. The secret to getting children and anybody to be real is the second they realize that my truth is the white. So what is the go'inus of Yaakov? Yaakov takes a stick and he peels off the bark and he puts it down. And the sheep all look at something that's black and white. But there's one chiddush on Yaakov's stick that doesn't exist in all the sheep. What's the chiddush in Yaakov's stick? Yaakov's stick is three-dimensional. And you see the black and the white. What did Yaakov do? He showed all the sheep that when you see black and white, what are you looking at? You're looking at a white stick with black bark. Look, I peeled off the black and it was white under it. And every sheep that looked at the stick with the white under the bark and they saw that black and white is really white with just the black bark and really it's white, every sheep that saw that came out Akudim. They were all moided to that. Then you're free to be real and to admit to your milos and your chesarus. The secret of getting people to be moided that they're black and they're white is that hakara, that moment of recognition when they know that the white is their emes and the black is the extra. It's just bark. The Zohar says, somebody asked me a kasha, your vote's a nice vote, but it doesn't fit with the Zohar. The Zohar, everyone knows the Zohar that says that Yaakov did with the stick was a zecher to tefillin. So it can't be that it was black and white. It had to be only black. Because tefillin, if there's any white on tefillin, it's puzzle. So he says, it's a raya that what you say is not true. I said, what does the Zohar mean that it would look like tefillin? How does it look like tefillin? The Zohar was talking about the tefillin shel yad. He made it look like tefillin shel yad. Black on white stripes. It's exactly what I'm saying. And the Zohar is saying, when you look at your tefillin on your arm, what do you see? Every single day, we tie on our arms. What's going to let me go through the day with koyach? How am I going to go through a day with gvura? How am I going to embrace my life and be real? I look at my arm and I see that my arm is black and white and black and white and black and white, but I know that the white is the real and the black's on top of it. And when I walk through life and I know that I'm white and all the black is extra, then I'm willing to embrace my truth that I'm black and white. I'm not scared to be white. I can sit in the middle of shul and I can be a richtige ehrlich, a real person. That's the secret of tefillin. And this goes weiter to all the halachas of, how many halachas you can explain of safros? There's a halacha that all oisias have to be mukaf gvil. A letter has to have white space around every ois. It can't be connected. Every letter that's black, you have to always know that it's an island of black in the middle of the white. When two letters are connected, then what's it, black or is it white? What's what? It's always black on the island of white. If two letters are connected, you lose that message. One little splotch of ink in Pasla Sefer Torah. A person has to always know that every blackness in his life is an island of black in a true yam of white. A real mechus is white. I want to show you this message similarly in a different place in Torah, a beautiful place. This I said before. I can read you a story everybody knows, but nobody realizes how complicated the story is. Adam and Chava do their first chet, the first time that human beings have ever been black and white at the same time. They're in Gan Eden and they eat from the tree. What happens when they eat from the tree? Their eyes were opened. They both realized that they were arumim. They wove together, they sewed together fig leaves and they made belts for themselves. Everybody knows Adam and Chava made chagoyros, belts from the ali te'ena. Here's what it says. You got to follow these psukim. They realized they ate from the tree. Their eyes were opened. They realized that they were arumim. They sewed together fig leaves and they made belts. Then they heard the voice of Hashem walking in the garden. The ruach hayoim, by the whatever that means, by the ruach of the day. Then they went to hide. They heard the voice of Hashem and they went to hide amongst the trees of the garden. And Hashem calls to Adam and he says the famous words, Ayeka, where are you? And Adam answers, Es koil choshamati begon, I heard your voice in the garden. Ve'era ki ermenach, and I was afraid because I was amarum. Ve'chabe, and I went to hide. And Hashem says, Mihikad lecha, who told you that you're arum? How do you know you're arum? Did you eat from the tree? And he says so. And then Hashem makes them koisnois or vayal bishem. Hashem makes them clothing of skin, and he dresses them in the clothing. This is the story. Let's go through the story quickly. Adam and Chava eat from the tree, and they realize that they're arumim, and therefore they make for themselves clothing from fig leaves, and they cover them, and they make belts out of fig leaves. after they make the belts out of fig leaves, he hears the voice of Hashem in the garden, and he goes to hide because he hears the voice of Hashem in the garden. Hashem says, "Where are you?" He says, "I heard your voice. I heard your voice in the garden. I was ashamed, and I was scared. I went to hide. I was ashamed." And Hashem then makes him clothing of Ur that he shouldn't be ashamed anymore. It shouldn't be Urim. So it's an interesting story. What's wrong with this? There's so many issues here. Adam and Chava, why did Hashem have to make them clothing of Ur? They already had clothing. They weren't Urim anymore. What did they do? They made clothing out of fig leaves. Vayaslan chagoris. They made themselves clothing. So why did Hashem have to give them customized Ur? They already had clothing. So what's the answer to that question? From what I just read you, the answer is obvious. They made clothing, they heard the voice of Hashem, and they went to hide because he was embarrassed. So obviously the fig leaves weren't cutting it. They weren't working, right? He felt Urim. They made belts out of fig leaves. They made the belts, and then they went to hide. Only after the belts. So that's why Hashem had to make them Kosmei Sar, because the fig leaves were broken. It didn't work. So then the question is, so what were they thinking? The fig leaves, they made them, they didn't work. So what was the purpose of the fig leaves? Is it a waste of time? What's the message of the fig leaves? So what's the answer? The answer is sort of what I just told you. In a different way, you'll see it now straight out in the Torah. The stereo message will make it sink in just a little deeper. Is what's the difference between clothing and a belt? If you had to define the difference between dealing with the problem of being Urim, one way is to put on clothing, and one way is a belt. How is a belt dealing with Urim, as opposed to a clothing's way of dealing with Urim? So there's two ways to deal with any failure, any blackness in my white. If I find some blackness in me, so one way is the ideal way, is you deal with the black. If the problem is that your flaw is that you're Urim, so the answer is clothing, and you're not Urim. That's called fixing your problem. That's called tshuva. Tshuva is, if whatever your problem is, fix it. Your problem is you're not dressed right, dress right. That's what clothing would be. But it seems that there's another way to deal with the problem, which is fascinating. This problem, this issue is called chagoros, belts. How does a belt solve the problem? So what a belt does is a belt doesn't do anything really. But what a belt does is it separates. It's a mechitza, it's chaytzetz, it divides. What it says is, yes, you know what? I messed up. I have some black in me. You know what? But that's not the whole me. I made a tourniquet. I quarantine it. It stops here. Just because I have a chesaron doesn't mean it's the whole me. I am black and white. It doesn't mean that I'm all black. There's such a thing as being both. A belt says, there's two parts of me. I built a wall. There's a wall. And now all the guilt from this side of the wall is not going to cross my wall illegally and take over the part of me. Right? I'm protected. I don't have to allow all these things to cross to my border. I failed. But that's not the end all. The way to deal with Urim is either to cover the Urim, and then you find, or to quarantine it and isolate it, that it doesn't taint your whole personality, and I don't curl up into a little ball of shame and see myself as black and sit in the corner of shul the rest of my life. I could still sit in the middle of shul because I'm not a Rasha. I'm black and I'm white. And that's what the belt does. So the question is then, right? The question is then, but what happened? So this is a raya against my whole speech. My whole speech was what? That when you're black and you're white, so then you can face life. But what happened to Adam? Adam went, he made his chagoros, he created this thing that says, you know what? I'm black and white. I did an avera, it's not the whole me, it doesn't spread to my whole guf. And then what happened? He heard the voice of Hashem, and he went to hide in the bushes, and he was ashamed. So it didn't work. This whole philosophy of being black and white doesn't work. You hear my question? Hashem had to make him real clothing. So what's the answer? The answer is the deepest of the deep. You know what the answer is? Adam and Chava ate from the tree. They realized that they were Urim, and they made chagoros. And when they made chagoros, they weren't hiding first. Why weren't they hiding first? They made chagoros, they didn't hide. After the Chagoros, they put on the belts. Only now they first felt, now they heard Hashem's voice. And now they went to hide. What's the answer? The answer is that there's not two options to be ashamed or not be ashamed. To be ashamed or tahar. I'm either tahar or there's a third option. You know what the third option is? The third option is even lower. There are three signs of a Yid. What are the three signs of a Yid? Baishanim, Rachmanim, and Goim Leitov. We have Busha, we have compassion, and we do Chesed. How is Busha a sign of a Yid? Isn't Busha a bad thing? Shouldn't a Yid be someone who doesn't have Busha? We do good? What does it mean that we're Baishanim? How is Baishanim a good midah? The answer is Baishanim is a good midah relative to another option where you're a chutzpah and you have azus and you do things wrong and you're not even ashamed. You ignore it. I'm not ashamed, right? Moyav. I name my kid Meyav. You think I'm embarrassed? No, I'm naming my kid. I'm proud of it. That's azus. That's chutzpah. Azus, right? This is a third option. I could be Torah, pure, no busha. Then I can have busha. And the worst option is I'm a chutzpah. Netzach zoyna, that azus of someone who has no shame and no busha, brazen. We call it brazenness. That's the worst thing. So what happens is, when is somebody brazen? Nobody wants to be brazen. Why is busha the sign of a Jew? Because brazenness is what you do when you don't believe you have any tikkun. If I'm all black, then I have to be brazen. When I realize that I'm allowed to be black and white, then I don't have to be brazen. And then I can face what I do and I can become ashamed. I can only get to the point of shame when I know that I'm not all bad. This is what happened to Adam and Chava. They did an Avera, and they really did something wrong, and they put on Chagoros. And it was only once they were wearing the Chagoros that separated the Chet from the rest of them, and they realized that I'm black and I'm white. That's the first time they heard Hashem's voice in the garden. Only after, when you don't have the belt on, then you can't even hear Hashem's voice. When you don't believe there's anything good about you, you can't hear anything holy, because it's too threatening. It doesn't apply to me. I have no hope. First you have to put on, the belt wasn't broken. They put on the belt. The belt doesn't get rid of shame. The belt allows you to face the shame. The belt allows you to get over that blockage. The belt allows me to go hear the Musar Shir. The belt allows me to walk into shul to hear the voice of Hashem in the garden. The first thing we need is to put on belts and to know that all of my Averis, they're Averis, but it's not the whole me. I'm black and I'm white. There's still white here. I'm really white, we're black, I'm both. As soon as you realize that, you have your belt on, then all of a sudden, now you hear the voice of Hashem in the garden. You can allow yourself to hear it, because you can be ashamed, because you know that ultimately you're good. You don't have to give up. And then you can go hide in the bushes from your shame. And then Hashem will help you, give you real clothing. Then you'll reach true shleimus and true tara. True tara and true shleimus comes when you become shalom, when you embrace all of your whiteness. But nobody ever got to whiteness before they were able to be moided to their whiteness and their blackness. And the way to be moided to both is first the step of Chagoros. This is Ad Mechava. The Chagoros weren't for nothing. The Chagoros were specifically for this point. You have to know that you're black and you're white. And that's when life begins. That's when you can enter shul and sit in the middle. And then you can really daven, and then you can really hear the shmooze, listen to Kriyas HaTorah, you can embrace all the things in your life and feel all of your real emotions. Busha is an unbelievable achievement. We live in a world where busha is rare. Not because Averis are rare. Things that should make people busha have never been larger. But busha is almost non-existent, because everyone just believes they're black. Everyone gave up. And therefore they can't even begin their journey by facing their busha. The first step in holiness is to embrace your busha. And the way you do that is to know that I'm really white and black. I'm Akudim, the Akudim of Rudim. May we all embrace our multicolored selves, and may we therefore go from there, mechayel el choyel, may we progress from the belts to the kosnais or vayal bishem, may we leave all the bushes and dance in the garden, l'or hayoim, the ruach hayoim, and experience all the beauty and the inspiration that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has granted us to experience. Gutavach.